Y'all know what time it is. It is the one and only In the Scope podcast with your boy Joshua M. Hicks, senior writer for War Media. And many of you guys may be looking at me, if you can actually see this, with the hoodie. It's because it's cold as hell. It's 17 degrees in Chicago right now. So I am freezing in my house as we're recording this. As we're recording this on Christmas Eve. But as we are, as I'm continuing to try to stay warm out here, it's not as bad as getting foots of snow in the East Coast, like like a guest of like this special guest of mine
You
on
know
this show
what?
did.
Honestly, we did get like a. I was gonna say we did end up getting like a foot of snow. Well, close to it. It was a lot. It was a lot of snow that we did end up getting, but a lot of that subsided now. Like right now, it's like 57 degrees outside. So I don't envy y'all at all in the slightest, man.
See,
Y'all
now I'm
have fun.
jealous. See, now I'm jealous.
Yeah, as
Now
soon
I'm
as you
jealous.
said that, I was like, "Oh, let me check the weather app," and it was like, "Yeah, 57 degrees and a lot of rain all day tomorrow. This could be 61 on Christmas, but the low is gonna be 28, so it's gonna get pretty cold later on. But y'all have fun with all that. Y'all have fun."
The brother that I'm envying right now on this show is one of my day ones. He's a heavy writer, a heavy.com writer for the Warriors, as well as a producer. Got his own show, the Alt Mill Show. Oh man, this dude is doing a real deal back in the NYC. I want everyone listening to give it up for my guy Melvin Taylor. Melvin,
Man, I
my
appreciate
envious
that intro.
brother. My
I
envious
appreciate
brother.
I appreciate that intro, man. Thank you very much. I'm so glad to finally be on the show with you. I've been able to see you grow over the past couple of years, and it's amazing to see the progress that you've made. And I only see bigger and better things for you in the future. So please continue to go on, keep this show going, so that way you always got your own thing happening. And and also, I mean, obviously everybody's not going to know, but there's also some crossover with us from in the PR world as well with Jerry Thomas and whatnot too. But yeah, man, yeah,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
excited that we finally got all this going, and let's talk some hoop because NBA is back and it's unbelievable, but it's back. So yeah.
Most definitely. NBA is back, and opening night just occurred a couple days ago with the Warriors against the Nets. And oh my gosh, what a game that was.
Man, talk about it. Talk about it. So one of my beats for heavy.com is to write about the Golden State Warriors. So, I've been into it since the off season and really was looking forward to this season because you had Steph coming back from his broken hand. Draymond was going to be back fully healthy. Klay Thompson was going to be healthy coming from his ACL tear. They had the number 2 draft pick, and it was like, okay, and Andrew Wiggins was somewhere in the mix. And it's like, all right, they have the makings of they could get back to that like Warriors dominance that they had. And then subsequently, Klay ends up tearing his right Achilles. And now it's like, all right, all that energy has kind of just been sucked right out of the building, so to speak, with everything they had going on. But, Steph he has maintained his stance of we're going to be a tough, competitive team. We're going to stick it to everybody that we play this year. And that certainly was not the case against the Brooklyn Nets because they look real good. They look real good, man. Man, oh man. It's good to see Kevin Durant come back and be healthy. And that 2-year stretch that he kind of had off, being able to come into now. It's almost 2 years. It's been like a year and a half or something like. It's been. I don't know the exact number of days, but it's been a long time since we've seen him be who he was pre-injury. And it's good to see him come back and be fully healthy and show that, hey, I'm still KD at the end of the day. And it only makes it that much worse when Kyrie is going. I don't know what he was. I don't know what his actual stats were, but he was just on fire to be able to start the game. When he ended the half, pulling up from about 25 feet, I was like, oh, this is not going to be good at all. But it's they got to take their lumps so they can get them, and it might be about time for everybody to just kind of look at Andrew Wiggins and be like, you're not going to be that guy. I mean, we've all been saying this, but we can officially have the conversation in public now. You just might not be that guy. So it's still very early. I know it's only game one. I might get killed for some of that. It is what it is. But sometimes you just know. And I feel like at this point in time, we just kind of know what's happening right now. But nonetheless, I am excited for James Wiseman. I think he's going to be a great shining star for the Warriors this season, especially with him being able to stretch out his range to the three-point line. He's been practicing that for a long time, knowing that, hey, I got to be a nimble big man in the NBA today. So that'll be cool. And I still want to see Steph. I've maintained this throughout the offseason all the way up until now. And even last year, we'll talk to him coming back and going into last year. I want to see Steph average 30 a game. Like, I want to see that version of Steph Curry. Like, I know he's capable of doing that in college at Davidson, right? When he was averaging 27 his junior year. So I know it's possible. I want to see him do it on this stage as well, because that's the type of nightly effort he's going to have to give for this Warriors team to be able to get to a 6 or 7 seed with how good this Western Conference is going to be. So, we'll see what ends up happening. But if they keep running the buzzsaws like that, you never know. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. Like, Steph got to go back to old Steph in order for them just to stay afloat at this point. Because unfortunately, Klay Thompson just can't keep healthy right now. They are getting older, and like you mentioned, Andrew Wiggins is not that guy. I can't even believe that we almost traded for him with the Bulls. We almost went for him instead of Zach. I can't believe that we almost did that. But that's a whole nother situation.
I have a bit of sympathy for Wiggins in the sense that, granted, one, there were a lot of expectations that people put on him way earlier than what they needed to. I remember when people were saying, "Oh, he's next LeBron or T-Mac." Whoa, relax. Let's see. With all the rookies that come in, I don't care who you are, from Zion to Luka to whatever. I'm like, let me see you play first. I got to see you play in the league first before I can really assess who it is that you're going to be, because anybody can look good against some guys that's going to end up being plumbers and insurance salesmen by the time that they fully mature, right? Moving forward, I always wanted Wiggins to not get traded for Kevin Love. I always wanted Wiggins to have that LeBron James next to him to show him, look, this is the level of what you're going to have to do to be able to be this good, right? Going to playing in Minnesota along with Karl Anthony Towns kind of pushed him off in the limelight of, like, you can just be as good as you want to be and still get that max contract deal because you're playing in Minnesota, versus having the expectation of, no, they said you're going to be the next me, and you're going to have to figure out your game alongside me, alongside Kyrie, while also, no, I'm the older guy, you the younger guy, you go ahead and be Scottie Pippen and guard the other team's best player. I always wanted that for him. And I thought that he might actually also get a chance of that being alongside Jimmy Butler, because I know Jimmy Butler, as somebody that worked himself up from JUCO to superstar now, he's going to say, if you ain't putting in the work, I'm going to call you out, which is what he did. It's still only one game, but we'll see what ends up happening there.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, because he did lost out on probably arguably the greatest leader per se of the league to even learn from. But then to have Jimmy Butler and how that fiasco went down in Minnesota, you would think, if anyone, Jimmy Butler would really be that guy for Andrew to really look up to, and especially when it comes to taking the reins from that position. And it just seemed like he just flailed out. Like, I wonder if the expectations really kind of derailed him mentally, potentially, when it comes to development and growth of his game, to the point where now he's in Golden State in a situation where at the time there's not much expectations because the team was doing so bad last year. And even then, he had glimpses and moments, but it just seemed like he was never going. He never showed the promise that he once could have had when he entered the league.
Yeah, I think at this point it's very much a thing of just want to. Like, we know that Wiggins has all the physical tools to be able to make that happen, right? And even in the preseason, some of the games that I watched, he was being very assertive. He was being pretty aggressive. And I remember saying to myself, if he is this way as the season goes on, they're going to be more dangerous, because this is what can take him from being that 19, 20 point per game scorer to a 25, 26 per point game scorer by just being that aggressive consistently. But if he's going to be lackadaisical, We probably should have never put those expectations. Well, let me not say we. Y'all probably should have never put them expectations on him the way in which everybody did at that point. So it's still very early. It is game one. He was guarding Kevin Durant, which, is obviously nobody knows how to be able to stop that man. But Wiggins is going to be looked at as that guy to, you got to guard the other team's best player and still give us 20 to 25 on the other end. So it's either it's going to happen or it's not. And right now, we've already said what it's looking like.
So what do the Warriors have to do then moving forward to really boost their chances of getting back to that dynasty realm of those deep playoff runs? I mean, obviously, no, you can't get rid of the unfortunate luck that they've had from injury perspective. But, you don't have a Kevin Durant there anymore. They're getting older. Andrew Wiggins,
Right.
hasn't fully stepped up to the plate as of yet. And that bench that they have,
Right.
nowhere near what they had when they was during those those championship runs. So what do the Warriors need to do so that way they don't necessarily have to rebuild, but retool to get themselves into the better position playoff runs that we are accustomed to, especially within this decade?
Well, I think a couple of things have to happen. One, first and foremost, Steph has to average 30 a game. And I say that because you want Steph to show that dominance, to be able to attract that same attention that he used to when Klay Thompson was there. Now, if he's able to do that, that's going to open up the floor for and Andrew Wiggins to be a bit more aggressive, because now I can now open up my game a little bit more, right? Additionally, that's also going to help. He was averaging 18 a game. Now, if he's able to do that, or just even add 2 more points on the 20 and find some consistency there, that's going to help him out a lot. Granted, Phoenix wasn't that good of a team last year. They showed themselves in the bubble as being, we're almost there. But being able to put up good stats on a bad team doesn't always mean you'll be able to put up those same stats on a good team. Right now, this is going to be Kelly's time to show, if I can turn the corner and be that type of reliable guy, I can be a forward. Additionally, James Wiseman, he's going to have to take that step as well to say, the Warriors are really looking at Draymond for offense. That's not something, excuse me, that's not something that they're going to happen. If Wiggins isn't going to step up, if Oubre isn't going to step up, it's going to be on Wiseman to say, this is my time to shine now, as I got to get all these rebounds. If I have a mismatch down low, I got to make sure to score on that. You know what? None of the offensive centers, let me not say none, but majority of the majority of the centers that I'll play against in the league won't have the offensive skill set that I'll have. That's going to be a benefit to him to be able to balance out what he's going to face on the opposite end of the floor. Yes, he has the tools to potentially be a top 5 center defensively and offensively as well. But for now, and just to adjust to the speed of the game, he's going to need to be able to find that confidence within himself on a nightly basis, which he did show somewhat in the first game. Granted, most of his points ended up coming against the second team and wasn't against DeAndre Jordan. But if he's able to push that out a little bit further, start the game to be more aggressive early on, that might help him and his confidence moving forward. He's going to be a big piece for them, especially being their basically franchise centerpiece moving forward. Additionally, the Brad Wanamaker, Kent Bazemore, yeah, they're not the big splash pieces of like a Sean Livingston or Leandro Barbosa or Mo Spates, who are all leading with like maybe 10, 12, 13, 14 points per game here off the bench, right? But you're hoping that this is the time for them to grow into being those guys, right? All this year really is, especially after the Klay Thompson injury, it's an audition for when Klay comes back, who's going to be on this team, right? You just want to get through this year of, all right, if Steph can give me 30, that's gonna help us out going into next year, because right out the gate, that's gonna help Klay ease back into who he needs to be. Right now, with Klay easing back into who he needs to be, maybe that also may help Wiggins become a little bit more of who he is. Granted, this is a lot of maybe who Wiggins might become, but it is what it is at this point in time, right? And now, if you have Curry averaging 30, if you have Klay easing back into that, if you have Wiseman, all right, maybe I can still get that 18 to 20 that he's been averaging so far throughout his career. That's going to make it so much easier on Wiseman. And now you look at it as you have 4 legitimate scorers on offense that you can't really stop. And on the defensive end, Wiggins can guard your best player. Thompson can guard your best player. Green can guard your best player. And now Wiseman is going to be controlling the paint, and you'll be able to hide Steph enough to be able to not be such a defensive sieve. So that's going to help them, especially moving into, as LeBron is going to be 36 next week, and he's going to be 37 next year. By that point in time, when Clay comes back, that'll help them begin to say, all right, they getting older over there. Maybe we still might have another run here. So all this year is for the Warriors is just, hey, let's see what we get out of Wiggins, see what we get out of Oubre, see what Wiseman has for us. Hopefully Steph can average 30 and just get through the year healthy.
Everybody listening right now, you're listening to Melvin Taylor. Mel, I wish the Bulls can say the same thing.
Oh God.
But right now it ain't looking too good. They had their first game against a very improved Atlanta Hawks team who made some big offseason splashes this year.
Definitely.
And they and it showed. They pretty much gave the Bulls a nice little butt whooping, and
that they did.
And the Bulls, came out that first game laying an egg. So we all pretty much knew that from a Bulls perspective, with the new management, the new coach, and a very young team with some that made a couple roster moves, but aside from drafting Patrick Williams, pretty much is the same as last year. Mm-hmm. We kind of knew this is like an audition year. It's a tryout year to figure out what the Bulls really have moving forward, so that the front office management can make the best moves needed to improve the team. Definitely. But are we really that bad? I mean, we were a 40-point blowout before the reserves came in and finished it off. I mean, are the Bulls really that bad of a team, of a talented team that can't even like compete at least? Or is it just first game jitters, still trying to get used to the system, long way to go type of thing? We'll see what happens at the end of the way down the road.
Man, I hate to break it to you, but the Bulls probably are just going to happen to be that bad this year, man. When you look around the East and you really look and see, all right, who's going to be the terrible team this year? I was watching the Knicks last night thinking, honestly, RJ Barrett might be able to score like 20 to 23, maybe 24 a game, right? So that's going to at least push them out of not being the absolute worst team in the East. When you look around else, Washington got Russell Westbrook, so they're going to get better. Orlando, they all got together. They're going to be a little bit older, so they're going to be better. They were the AC. Charlotte might be the only other team where I'm thinking, okay, they could probably be the worst team in the East, but they have enough veterans to where they might be able to figure that out, right? And they're not relying on as many young players. Like LaMelo Ball isn't even starting for them because Terry Rozier and Stephen Graham are two, I wouldn't say amazing, but they're two very good guards right now for them. When you look at the Bulls, you still don't even know what you have. Like, yeah, you got Zach LaVine, right? And he, at absolute best, was having this conversation with somebody just yesterday. At Zach LaVine's absolute best, he can be a very good number 2 guy at his absolute best. But if you look at it, he's been in bad situations. So you're going to have to unlearn a couple things to be able to get there and see, does he have that fire of, I'm putting up 27 a night, right? That's what we need to see from him. What you hope for Zach LaVine is that he can be an amazing number 3 option on a good championship team. That's what you want him to be. When you look at this Bulls team, he's the number 1 option. That's not going to cut it off the bat. That's not going to cut it. Who's the number 2 option? We don't know. Lowry? Don't know about that. Otto Porter Jr.? I mean, I'm on record saying I don't even know why that trade happened, but it is what it is. Kobe White, I'm glad he's finally starting, but, Trae Young was eating him alive last night. Wendell Carter Jr., I need more than 6 points, bro. I'm going to need more than – apparently, wasn't he supposed to still be hitting the growth spurt at some point in time? He still looked like he's 6'9". I need you to be 6'11" and use them extra 2 inches you got, man. Like, I need you to do that. I will say, I was not a fan of the Patrick Williams draft. I was like, that's not who I wanted, right? I honestly wanted them to trade I wanted them to trade number 4 and Wendell Carter to see if they could get number 2 to get James Wiseman. But from what Patrick Williams has showed in preseason and thus far in this one game, I like his aggressiveness. I like him saying, you know what, I kind of got this little mid-range thing down. I'm like, all right, there might be something here at some point in time. Okay, cool. He can stay. Everybody else, though, man, look, it's just not looking good this year. It's not looking good at all, man. If Atlanta is one of the teams that I believe is going to be fighting for an 8th seed, right? Because I think Charlotte may end up being around there. Orlando's probably still going to be around there. Washington ended up being better. Miami's still going to be pretty good. And when I look at the rest of the teams in the East, I'm like, obviously you still got the Milwaukee's, the Indianas, the Torontos, the Bostons, Nets, so on and so forth. I'm probably forgetting a couple teams here and there. If the Bulls just look this bad against Atlanta, who I don't think is going to make, who's fighting for an 8th seed, I don't know, man. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. It's sure some first game jitters. Billy Donovan still got to get the system implemented and see what it is that he actually has. I'm sure off of last night he sees it ain't much, but some of that also is just this isn't a good collection of players in any way, shape, or form. Before any NBA team to be given Ryan Arcidiacono, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, buddy, for him to be getting almost 20 minutes a game, it's not going to be it, man. It's not going to be it. Sorry. It's not going to happen at this point in time. So they're going to be fighting for the number 1 pick. Put it that way. So let's just start looking in college to see who's going to be that guy and just start printing out the Bulls jersey right now.
That's a good thing. That's kind of a good thing though, because this 2021 class is kind of deep. And you know,
we say that every year. We say that every year. We see, I find it hilarious now at this point that every single year we're always like, man, look, this draft class, like it's gonna look pretty good. It's gonna look pretty good. And then like a month before we get to the actual draft is when people start being like, well, you know what? It's kind of top heavy. It's really like we got the top 5 guys, and outside of that, I don't really know. And then we like a week out, it's like, okay, it's really just top 3. Top 3, then we'll see after that. And then like the day before, when somebody happens to say, I don't really watch film that much, Anthony Edwards, then we're kind of like, all right, well, maybe it just might be a 2-player, 1-player. Maybe somebody might be good in this draft. But I do hear what you're saying. Like, all jokes aside, I do hear what you're saying. This upcoming draft class might be one of the deepest that we've had in the past couple years, you could say. I'm not willing to go as far as like the 03 or the 96 or anything like that, right? But it could end up being a very, very good draft class. And right now, the Bulls just need to go ahead and send out all their scouts and say, look, stay at home and watch all the film that you can to see who we can get with this number 1 pick, because that's where they headed with efforts like what they gave last night.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So with that being said, then obviously we know Kobe White he's playing a transition role now. Like he's going from the scoring point guard that we know he is, but he's really playing a 2 guard to actually facilitating an offense, which is gonna take time to do. Mm-hmm. I think I kind of have some hope in that just because Mo Cheeks is there. Mm-hmm. You know, the guidance of Mo Cheeks, him actually playing the point guard position. He coached, superstar point guards and Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook, just like Billy Donovan did. Billy Donovan played the point guard role as well. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Kobe has that mentorship relationship with Chris Paul. I think those components were, even though if it doesn't happen this year, maybe at least within the next year or two, as he still gets to get his feet wet under in the NBA, he can eventually develop a role where he may not be a 7 to 8 to 9, 10 assist player, but he can control the offense, he can control the right plays, and he can still give you maybe 20 and like 5. That's something that can keep the Bulls afloat. Do you see that possibility happening?
I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that the connection with Chris Paul would be much more meaningful if Chris was on his team. I think a lot of the credit that we give to Billy Donovan for last year is on the back of just how good Chris Paul actually is. Because if you take him off of that team, I don't think they're anywhere near as good as what they were, right? In terms of Kobe, I do think that similar to the Patrick Williams situation. Granted, Patrick was drafted by this new front office, right? So he's good no matter what happens. I think Kobe is in a point now of where, because he's so young and because he showed so many good flashes last year, he has an extra, maybe year, extra season of being able to say, let me get my feet under me being the actual starting guy now. And then next year should really be that trial year for me to see, am I going to be the guy here moving forward as a point guard long term? Now, and what he was able to show as a shooter and scorer last year, I do think he could be an 18 to 21 point per game scorer. And I'll give him a little bit more credit to say, I think that averaging 7 assists a game should be where he's at. Being able to get you 21 and 7 should be a consistent thing for him, based on the standpoint of his shooting is going to be good enough to where defenders are going to have to play up on him. And with his speed and quickness, he should be able to get by enough guys to give you a couple drop passes here and there. And then also just running an offense should give you 3 to maybe 4 more assists throughout the game, right? I think that that's something that he could do. I think Maurice Cheeks would be a great benefit to him, in the sense that, hey, you know what? I've seen enough good point guards in the league and I've played enough good point guards in the league to where I can show you a few tricks of the trade here and there. But a lot of that is still also going to ride on who he has around him and how comfortable he's going to be within the offense. And unless Zach LaVine, like I was saying before, unless he comes out nightly and says, I feel disrespected, I need 27 a game, right? That's going to help open up the offense some more for Kobe. And at the same point, unless Lowry or Wendell are also going to come out and say, I'm pretty good on the offensive end as well, which will also help to make the game easier on Kobe, then it's going to make it more difficult. So is it possible for Kobe? 100%. I do hope that he can be the guy because I see a lot of good promise in him, but I need you to play a little bit better than giving up 37 to Trae Young. I need a little bit more than that. So yeah.
Not bad. Not bad analysis. Not bad on that. I think you do make a good point about the fact that at the end of the day, Zach got to show up, G. Once Zach shows up and becomes the player that we know he can be, you're right. He could be a good number 2 option. But Bulls need a superstar at the end of the day. They need to bring someone in there to flip that whole script. And so this year may not be the year, but next year when we have more cap space, when hopefully we can have more solidity as far as the direction we're gonna go, maybe we can steer some things around to get change, even more change that we already got within that front office. But
I think that just real quick before we transition, this might be the time. I think we may end up getting around late January, early February, just saying, what's the best thing that you can get on the market for Zach at this point in time? Because if Zach gives you what he gave you last night on a consistent basis, sure, that's good, but that should also be good enough to get you something else where you're gonna get a little bit more energy than what you get. Because if we being completely honest, we know that Zach overall didn't really want to be in Chicago. Otherwise, he wouldn't have signed the restricted offer to go be a Sacramento King, right? And even from last year at the All-Star break, when he was saying, include guys such as LeBron or AD on a team like that, right? Granted, the Laker fan in me is like, oh, great, cool, go get Zach LaVine. But the basketball fan in me is saying, if you're mentioning other players by name that you want to go play with, you clearly don't want to be where you are right now. It's a different situation with Giannis in the sense that he's 2-time MVP Defensive Player of the Year. You can do that and be like, yeah, of course I want other help because I'm trying to win a championship. Zach LaVine, you trying to score 25 a game. Like that's what the Bulls need out of you at that point in time. So I think it'll be best for everybody involved if you start getting closer to the trade deadline and seeing what they'll be able to get for Zach. And I think it's a similar situation as well for Lowry. I don't like the whole, all right, cool, he's going to be a restricted free agent and we'll see who he ends up getting. Yeah, he's got to play hard this year to be able to earn that contract. Why are you even going through that? Because clearly if y'all don't want him here, you're like, oh yeah, prove to us what you got. Why not just see what you can get for him at this point in time? Because you don't want to go through another situation like what you did with Zach, where, all right, I'm going to sign an offer sheet somewhere else. I want to go. And then you match it because, oh, you had a good year and we think you can be good for us moving forward. Let's just see what you can get for him right now.
Everybody listening right now, you're listening to the host of the alternative radio show, Mr. Melvin Taylor. Mel, let's transition to some Christmas stuff because at the end of the day, there is still some giving this season, even though we are in a pandemic, and the NBA is giving us another year of nonstop entertainment.
Shout out to James Harden.
Shout out to James Harden for real. But luckily, thank God, at least he's not playing on Christmas, so we're good. He can spend Christmas to chill in quarantine.
I need that dude to just sit down somewhere. But please, let's go ahead.
Yeah, we got 5 games, man. We got 5 games. First game starting off with the Pelicans versus the Heat. Obviously, you got to get the Zion Williamson effect in there, especially since even though he only played less than half of a season, dude still balled out and averaged almost 23 a game. So Duke can fill it up. Duke can score. And the Pelicans made changes this offseason as well after trading away Jrue Holiday. They fired Alvin Gentry and brought in Stan Van Gundy. And might I add, Lonzo Ball has a jump shot now.
Man, Lonzo been working, man.
Lonzo's been working.
I'm excited, man. I'm a big supporter of the Ball family, so I want them all to do well. So I'm hopeful that Lonzo, can turn it around this year. But please keep going with your question, bro.
Lonzo Ball's been he's been improving on his jump shot, and this new Pelicans team has some promise. But at the same time, you got the defending NBA Finals runner-ups in the Miami Heat, and they've maintained and they're just as hungry. A hungry Jimmy Butler. They brought back Goran Dragic, and they still got Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. They brought back Bam Adebayo on an extension. So,
or as Kendrick Perkins would say, Bam out of the bayou. But
Perkins something else on TV. That's a whole nother conversation, man.
Definitely.
But between this game, what is the key components that you are going to be looking out for?
The main thing I'll be looking out for is how well is Miami going to be able to adjust to only having 71 days off? Similar to what the Lakers are going to go through, right? You have the shortest off-season turnaround of all time. Granted, the Heat have much younger players than what the Lakers do in the sense that they can rely on. But in terms of their stars, like with Jimmy Butler, I know he's a rough, rigid, I'm bringing my lunch pail to work every day type of guy. At what point in time is that going to start showing itself and being like, man, I'm kind of tired? Same thing with Dragic. He's in his, he's going into his mid-30s at this point. Still very much a key component of this team. Maybe you need to see a little bit more of the younger guys just to be able to get them through the season. But that's a little bit more further out from just what we're going to get in this specific game. I think for this game, the primary key is how good is Zion going to look on a nightly basis? Like, I need to know, are you going to play more than 30 minutes a game? Are you in actual game shape? Can you now show us, 23 game in spot minutes last year wasn't a fluke? I can do that on a nightly basis because I'm of the camp that I'm worried about. All right, it's a lot of force he putting on this body for not being anywhere near 6'9", 6'10", and being at the 6'7", 6'6" kind of range. Is that going to be able to hold up? But with Miami and the Pelicans, I think Bam and Zion is going to be a very good matchup to be able to watch, to see on both ends of the floor how Bam is going to be able to guard him and then how Zion is going to be able to guard him. I think Zion will have an easier time because Bam's offensive game isn't as expansive as what Zion's is. So I think Zion may be able to get the edge, so to speak, once you get there. And then once you get to, I guess, the next kind of matchup that I'm looking at is going to be Jimmy Butler versus Brandon Ingram, who Brandon Ingram is looking to show, look, guys, I'm giving y'all 27 tonight, no matter who I'm playing. I'm excited to see that matchup because Brandon is a very underrated defender. I don't think he gets the credit in which he should get on that end of the floor. And we know while Jimmy Butler can be an offensive threat, he's more so a facilitator, playmaker, and then going to get his buckets when he feels he needs to keep the offense going at that point in time. So that'll be something interesting to see. But outside of that, it's going to be who's going to be that third guy on New Orleans to really step up. Is it going to be Alonzo Ball? Is it going to be JJ Redick? Is it going to be an Eric Bledsoe? It's kind of a rotation of guys at that point in time. So it's going to be who's going to be that third guy versus on Miami. We know it's either going to be Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, or Goran Dragic. So out of those matchups there, that third matchup is really going to be key. If New Orleans can play good, consistent defense and keep any of those three guys like below 15, they might be able to win this game out. But if Duncan, Tyler, or Dragic end up getting hot, you might as well call the curtains early on for New Orleans.
Okay, I feel you. I'm definitely gonna be checking out. For me, the biggest thing is Zion Williamson, how he comes out to play. That's probably gonna be the top matchup I'm going to pay attention to. And I think defensively, who holds down the best opponent, especially from that low post perspective, if Miami can hold Zion down, they're most likely going to win the game. If Zion goes off, I don't know, you may be in a tougher game than what they're expecting. Who do you have winning the game though?
Ooh, good question. I think it's gonna come down to the wire, and I think Miami's gonna pull it out by about 2 points. But I think it's gonna be a very, very close game because while both teams are in very different positions in terms of their conference alignment, I think that it being Christmas, it being Zion's first time to be like, let me really show y'all what I got on Christmas Day, and at the same time, Brandon Ingram saying, "Yo, y'all not gonna forget about me. Like I get the Zion getting all the attention, but I'm good. I'm good too." They're gonna show up, and at the same time, I think Miami wants to prove to everybody that last season wasn't a fluke. That we're on the national stage, first game of Christmas. We want to come out with a bang and show y'all that this Heat culture actually means something. I think Miami will end up pulling it out by 2, but another thing I do want to add before we end up transitioning to the next game, I also think that if at any point in time James Harden is actually offered to the Miami Heat, that Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley need to drive Tyler Hero to the airport and make that trade.
Harry, I hope you hear that because you may not last at this point, my brother. We got the Warriors and the Bucks next. Your Warriors that you're covering, they're playing the Bucks. That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I just don't have a blowout. I don't want a blowout, man. It's Christmas. Right. It's the 2:30 game. Like I know that's the hey everybody, this is the time to exchange gifts now game. Like just don't make it a blowout. That's what I'm mostly hoping for. But realistically, going back to some of the points that I had earlier, I'm really looking for Steph. I need you to be like ultra aggressive at every single point in time. Like I don't want you to go through any half of the game without having taken at least 15 shots. Like I want Steph Curry to have 90s Michael Jordan shot attempt numbers. Like if you got 47 shots that game, then that's what you needed to do to make sure the game was in your hands. Like I want Steph badly to have a MVP type of season to showcase, my 2-time MVPs wasn't just because we were an amazing team and I had another all-time shooter next to me. It's because I really am that guy. And deep down, I do believe he could be that. But he's going to need to be as aggressive as what he needs to be able to make that happen. Additionally, I want Andrew Wiggins to be more assertive. I want him to be more aggressive to show I was worth that number 1 pick back in 2014. Granted, Gale was a long time ago, but I am worth that. So let me show y'all why I ended up getting this money. And I'm also excited to see how James Wiseman is going to continue to improve throughout the season. On the Milwaukee end of things, I was upset that Giannis missed that free throw. I was like, oh, okay, we're going into overtime. And when he missed it, I was like, whoa, okay, this is interesting. But I do very much enjoy the interesting dynamic that Drew Holiday brings to their team and being like, yes, he may not be the playmaker that he was in his earlier days in New Orleans and that he was in Philadelphia, but he certainly is. If I need to get to the bucket, I got my left and right hand, and I can use either one. You need somebody to, all right, cool. Offense is getting stagnant. Give it to me. I'm going to get here. Or at the same time, if somebody's diving to the basket, I can get them on a nice assist here. I think that he adds a very interesting dynamic to their offense that they're going to utilize a lot. Ultimately, I think Milwaukee is going to win this game. And I'm just hoping that it's closer than what it was in the Brooklyn Nets game.
Yeah, I think, but the thing for me that I'm really going to pay attention to, aside from everything you just mentioned, was the emergence of Chris Middleton. Because Chris Middleton, regular season, he can ball. But, when it comes to that postseason, dude's MIA. He's not that number 2 guy to go to for me if Milwaukee wants to get that done.
Yeah, he's that Paul George category. I really kind of look at them similar in the sense of being like, y'all had y'all one good game in the playoffs last year, but in order for your team to go where the expectations are, you have to have this on a nightly basis. And if you're not showing that, then what is the point? Like, why are you getting paid this money? Why are you here? You need to be moved around for another piece. And for Chris Middleton, he has it there. I wish he could turn it on as much as this is a little throwback, not that far. But I wish he could have it on a nightly basis, like sort of a Michael Redd had at one point in time being in Milwaukee. But he's got to be that, I'm officially not officially, he is, but I'm nightly the number 2 guy. And look, you got Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins guarding you. This is the best time to be able to showcase that you can do that. And if you can't do it now, Bud probably going to go back to just playing you 30 minutes a game. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. And the next game after that is the game I'm most intrigued about, which is the Nets and the Celtics, just because you got Kevin Durant, you got Kyrie in that first game, like you mentioned against the Warriors. They looked awesome together on the court. That offense is very much like the Phoenix Suns of old, with that run and gun offense and shoot the ball in 6-7 seconds. But with the talent that they have, they should be able. They're doing it with effort. It's pretty much effortlessly under Steve Nash, and to have that compared with the Boston Celtics and what they got going on there with still the big three of, Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. The emergence of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown together is what's going to be very intriguing matchup to see when it comes to guard against Kyrie and Kevin Durant. I think those are the biggest things for me that I'm going to pay attention to. What about you?
Man, I'm glad you brought up the emergence of Jaylen Brown, because I was having a conversation before the game yesterday that with Gordon Hayward being gone, Boston is now going to turn to a Jaylen Brown and say, hey, now we need you to officially be our number 2 guy. Not to say that was in question, last year. It's something that, you would always expect Jaylen to have better games than Gordon, but now on a nightly basis, the same way that everyone looks at Jason Tatum as he's eventually going to be a top 5 player, they need to look at Jaylen Brown as you're going to, on a nightly basis, be relied on as, all right, you're going to get us 20 and then also play amazing defense on the other end, right? I think that Boston is going to have a couple of fits being able to figure out what to do with Kevin Durant. Now, I think on the Kyrie aspect of things, they have enough guys to throw at him. Not saying that they're going to stop him at any point in time, but they definitely got enough guys to throw at him. I want to say that Brooklyn's going to be able to pull this out. I know that's not controversial. I'm just very much Boston is in an interesting space of, if Jaylen Brown isn't going to be that reliable, are they going to regress this season? And if Kemba isn't going to be healthy, are they going to regress this season? And if you got to rely on Marcus Smart to give you 17 a game, you definitely might regress a little bit this season. So show up on the big stage. Show up in the big stage. They've been able to do that. Let me see you do that against this team that y'all might be fighting it out to see who ends up going to the finals come playoff time. So this will be a good test for them early on. I think Brooklyn will be able to pull this out. I think they'll probably end up going on a stretch at some point in time that just might show, hey, we're going to be that dominant all the time. But I think Brooklyn's going to pull this one out. But don't be surprised that if Boston is a top 2 team in the East, Jason Tatum might get some MVP conversation.
Okay, hot takes on the In the Scope podcast. That's what I'm talking about, Mel. Bring the heat. Bring the heat. That's what I'm talking about. But we're going to transition now to the Clippers and Nuggets, because we know how that fiasco went last year in the bubble.
Fair.
And this is the revenge game for them. This is the revenge game for the Clippers to show that, last year was a fluke, but no, this is who we really are now. You got rid of Doc Rivers. You brought in Ty Lue, who has already made tremendous changes to that offense that look really good against the Lakers. Sorry, bro.
It's all good. We took the night off. We got the rings. It was like, oh, we chilling. We good.
But on top of that, I think because of the changes that are being made and what they went through, Paul George is finally realizing that, okay, I can't do this no more. I just signed this bag. Everybody's gonna be on my ass for a little bit, so I need to make sure that I'm good. And because of that, why not do it against the team that literally took y'all out of the playoffs and from the 3-1 lead that you blew? And now you go to the Nuggets side. Nuggets they pretty much brought everybody back. I think Jeremy Grant was a huge loss for them.
Agreed.
But at the same time, that's why you got Bo. That's why you have Michael Porter Jr. Being slowly but surely getting better on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
If you could, I want to see how they're going to continue throughout the season, especially if Jamal Murray's going to take that next step to being an all-star caliber point guard that we know he can be and has shown in the bubble. Because I think that's the only way the Denver Nuggets gonna get past the second round this year, with the West being so loaded. What are your thoughts?
Man, I think you bring up a variety of great points. Before I even get to anything on the Clippers end of things, I do want to talk about Denver first and say I think Jeremy Grant was a huge loss, but you would expect for what you want Michael Porter Jr. to end up becoming to kind of replace that, and especially on the offensive end. Defensive end, it's going to take a little bit more time, but especially on the offensive end, I think Michael Porter Jr. will be able to do a good job of giving you what you would lose in Grant. Additionally, hey, Jamal Murray, all right, we seen how hot you can get. Can you do that for the full season? Because last night, y'all kind of, you needed that a little bit more because you shouldn't. It was a crazy ending to the Sacramento Kings game that they had, but for you guys being a potential top 3 team in the West, I don't want you losing to the Sacramento Kings on the 2-point buzzer beater, crazy tip in at the end of the game. I get things happen, first game of the season, all of that, but Luke Walton's their head coach, and I've seen enough of that. Like, y'all shouldn't be losing that game. I think, it's going to be really Jamal Murray. We need to see that consistency, be who you were in the bubble throughout this full season and show, I'm that guy. Because we know how good Jokic is. Are you going to be that 1 to his 1B or 1A? Y'all switch, flip-flop. Let's see what's going on there. And I like the fact that you brought up Michael Porter Jr. and Bol. But the thing is, and that's similar to the Bud situation in Milwaukee, is Mike Malone going to play them enough for them to be able to showcase that? Because we know with younger players sometimes, Mike Malone is like, yeah, you good, but nah, like go sit down somewhere. and they need to be brought into the team a little bit more. We need to see that chemistry between them for them to have anywhere near the sort of run that they had last year, because as you mentioned, the West is already so loaded and so deep. On the Clippers end of things, I don't like how much older they got. I understand Nicholas Batum, if you bring him in, this is a very good defensive player. I understand Serge Ibaka, very good defensive player. But when I look at their starting lineup, correct me if I'm wrong, is Paul George the youngest, or Kawhi might be the youngest starter that they have in that lineup at that point in time? And Kawhi, you're going to have to lean on Paul George giving you what he gave you against the Lakers, because we know now Kawhi ain't going to play every single game throughout the season, right? That's just not going to happen because his body may not be able to hold that up. Now, should that take him out of certain conversations for being the best player in the league? I think so, but I'm in the minority on that. With Paul George, you're back fully healthy now. You're not off the double shoulder surgery like you had before. You had that all season of all the jokes, of all the PG-13 slander and whatnot that everybody been making. Paul way off P, all of that. So now we need you to show us on a nightly basis here, there's a reason they gave me all this money. There's a reason I'm getting paid more than Anthony Davis right now, right? Like, they really believe in me. I want to be a Clipper for life, even though every time Paul George says that he ends up going to a new team the next year. I want to be a Clipper for life. Let's see what ends up happening there. I do think that the Clippers will be able to pull this out, but as the season progresses, I really don't like the fact that they got older and they're going to have to rely so much more on Patrick Beverley, so much more on Serge Ibaka. You're going to have to rely heavily on Nicholas Batum. You gave Marcus Morris, like $64 million? I don't know why. I really don't understand that one, especially when at times you can clearly see him looking off. Paul George is open. Kawhi is open. But my jump shot is way bad. No, it's not. No, not to that point. Not at all. Not to that point. So it'll be interesting to see how they end up progressing through the year, especially since now they're going to be running the triangle offense, since that's what Kawhi wanted to run. I think they're going to end up pulling this game out. I think Denver still has to figure out a couple more chemistry things, and the Clippers being able to lean back on the fact that, we all played this game long enough to be able to know how this works. We're going to be able to be good in our different spurts. I think they'll be able to pull that one out.
Yeah, not to mention at the same time for the Clippers component, they don't have a point guard. I mean, I know you got Patrick Beverley, but
Yeah, Patrick Beverly and Lou Williams just not doing it. What they need to do, and I've heard, like, I don't think Charlotte will do it anytime soon, especially after the night that Terry Rozier had last night. But whatever the Clippers still got left in the cabinet to be able to get Terry Rozier is what they should do. Granted, they gave all that up to be able to go get Paul George. But you want a dynamic scorer like that who can also still facilitate to be able to help take your team over the next level. As much as they did want Rondo, I don't think Rondo was that guy enough to say he's going to get you throughout the entire season of being able to do that. Plus, I don't think a guard lineup of Rondo, Beverly, and Lou Williams is going to be able to make that happen. I think Rozier is young enough, dynamic enough, has the exuberance, and can still give you, I guess 40 sometimes to be able to say, I can add to where this team actually needs it. But not having a point guard is definitely going to hurt them. I think Paul George could do a decent job of being a facilitating playmaker. But again, going back to Kawhi not being there on a nightly basis, he's going to have to rely more on his scoring ability. And now you're looking at Nicholas Batum or Luke Kennard or Marcus Morris as being that other facilitator, and that's not going to cut it. So I think in this game, the Clippers will be able to pull it out. But moving forward, it'll be interesting to see how the season ends up.
And of course, last but not least, I decided to do you a favor and leave your favorite team for last.
I appreciate that.
We got the Mavs and the Lakers, defending champs. They finally got their rings, and they got their gold rings, and now they're about to prepare for another journey. And what they did this offseason to me is just unfair, because they just reloaded they just went from like a pistol to a machete to a machine gun in like a matter of months, just because of all the moves that they made. And LeBron, they're on the verge of getting another run. They're secured long term. They got AD long term. LeBron signed for another at least 2 years. So they're ready and locked and loaded to go prepare for another championship. But on Dallas side, you got that young boy in Luka, who dude is a killer.
He is.
And Dallas has found their man. Their next Dirk Nowitzki, per se, as far as the long-term solution to keep this team afloat and relevant.
Fair.
And with them being on the rise, they can make this game pretty competitive. I don't know. I doubt they'll win, but they can make this game pretty competitive and at least start even more the conversation of Luka showing signs of maybe putting his name in the ring for that MVP race. What do you think?
I think, and you know what? Before I get into anything on the Lakers side, I'm leaving them for last, just as you mentioned. I definitely want to start with Dallas. And Dallas is in an interesting situation for me right now, right? Because I thought that losing Seth Curry hurt them a lot. And the reason that I say that is because while Seth Curry, everybody knows him as a shooter, and that's what he is at his absolute best, right? But when you really break down his game and watch it, he's also somebody that, he can come off curls and screens. He can shoot well from the outside. He can also get to the basket at a better rate than what you think he can. That helps to stretch out and open up the Mavericks offense so much, because with Luka as a primary ball handler, right? Yes, he can get to the basket. Yes, he can shoot, but he likes to rely a little bit more on, I'm going to take that step back, I'm going to shoot on the outside, than going to the basket as much as what, say, for example, a younger LeBron did, which allowed his game to be able to open up so much. Now, with the other starters that they had, Tim Hardaway Jr. ain't going to the basket like that anymore. Josh Richardson, he's going to have to grow into being that guy of, I can shoot on the outside, but I'm also going to be that slasher that's going to help to open up the offense some. And last night against Phoenix, they kind of struggled with that. When Luka took a little bit, it took I want to say maybe the first 2 quarters or so for him to really get going into the fashion that we know him to be. And not having Porzingis there and having to shoulder that expectation for so long might throw off some of those MVP talks that we were all saying that he should have. Now, granted, a lot of that was due to, Porzingis is there, then that opens that door for it. But if he's not, it's going to be hard for Luka, especially how tough this West is going to be. Can Dallas get to a 4 or 5 seed if Porzingis is going to miss a lot of time? And now I'm not having an MVP consideration for somebody that's in a 6 seed. That's not going to happen. So they got a lot to figure out going into this season. But I think that on Christmas Day, Luka probably, let's be honest, probably took a little bit easy in saying, all right, it's Phoenix. We got the Lakers on Friday. It's Christmas. nah, all right, let's just get through this game and let's see what happens. And I think he'll be able to show up come Friday. I think he'll do the same. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. will do the same. I think you'll get a little bit more out of James Johnson and Josh Richardson as well. But keep that in mind going through this season that because they don't have anybody that's that dynamic slasher that's getting to the basket, even though Seth Curry wasn't, he did enough to be able to help maximize what they had on the offensive end. They're going to be missing that right now, especially with Porzingis not being there to take some of that attention away and help set a lethal pick and roll for him and Luka. On the Lakers side of things, 100%, they did, in my opinion, have the best offseason thus far, being able to retool, reload, and be able to move forward. On the defensive end, they are going to be lacking a little bit. One thing that I did not like that they did is get rid of Jordan Bell. I like Jordan Bell because I still want a young, active center on the Lakers roster for, okay, cool. You got AD, you got Mark out there. One of them getting foul trouble. Yeah, you put Montrez out there. Outside of that, now I'm looking at the other Antetokounmpo brother, and I'm looking at Babcock and saying, all right, y'all are the only two other big guys that are out there that can be thrown out for when you need another center. As much as I like y'all, cool, yeah, you contributed to the championship last year. Have y'all progressed enough to be able to give me meaningful minutes out there when I need you in that way? Jordan Bell is somebody that, yeah, he's played for the Cavaliers before, but people know his name from being with the Warriors and being able to provide a couple good solid minutes here and there. So I thought at that point in time, look, Giannis already signed his extension. Might be time for his little brother to go ahead and take that flight out to Milwaukee because they know Milwaukee going to treat him right and keep Jordan Bell at this point in time. But they didn't do that. It made me think they're probably going to give one of those two guys a chance, or there might be somebody in free agency that they're like, let's just get to close enough to the playoffs and then we'll sign somebody that we can bring in to help out. But I think Jordan Bell would have been somebody that they should have kept at that point. Moving on, I think that for them, it's just going to be chemistry, finding the right pacing with one another, getting to play with one another enough. Because if I'm LeBron, I've made it a point in saying to everybody I've had this conversation with, I'm not taking LeBron seriously until February. Because at this point, like I mentioned before, he's going to be 36 next week. We know what we're getting out of LeBron. This is Anthony Davis's time to say, it's time for me to step up and be that MVP guy. It's time for me to step up and say, can't nobody in this league hold me. Can't nobody in the league guard me. I should have got Defensive Player of the Year last year. Now I'm gonna go get that and MVP this year. That's what he needs to step up and do on a nightly basis. And when you look at the different acquisitions they brought in, maybe Danny Green and Wesley Matthews might not be who they used to be in terms of defending and three-point shooting, but paying Wesley Matthews a lot less than what I was paying Danny Green, so you keep that, right? But with Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell, you're looking at what they had last year and saying, with LeBron sitting down, right, and with there needing to be some offense on the floor whenever AD is probably sitting down next to LeBron, and when they have their couple minutes of both not being on the floor, you need the offense to keep going because you're still pushing Kuzma in an Andrew Wiggins sort of sense, but the expectation isn't there because he wasn't the number one pick. You're still pushing Kuzma to say, yo, we need that 18 a game that you were showing us before. We need that now, right? Now that you're not playing the 4 position and you're getting bullied down low, now that you're in 3, because Morris can play 4, Montrezl can play that 5. We need you as that 3-man to give us that perimeter scoring and to be that slasher towards the basket at times, right? So with him on the floor, with Montrez and Dennis running the pick and roll, you want that to kind of be the offensive flow to keep things going and to, of course, still include Alex Caruso. Bring on Taylor Horton-Tucker, one of Simeon's finest, who's out there showcasing what he's got at that point in time. I think that with them, like I said before, it's just a lot of chemistry. They're going to get a lot of time together, and you got to figure out on the fly because by the time the playoffs come, the ball's going to go back into LeBron and AD's hands. So right now, get what you can get now. Know where you can pick and choose your spots because when the lights turn on and they start shining real bright, you know who the ball's going to go to, and you know that, all right, I found my spot enough to be ready when my time is called. That's one thing to make KCP so good. Yeah, you had your past couple of years of, all right, I got the ball a lot. I'm getting the ball a little bit less. Now I'm a spot player and I need to be a star in my role. KCP now knows these are my spots. I got to be ready and knows when LeBron and AD want me. And when they're not on the floor, now is my time to really shine to be that guy. That's what Dennis and Montrez are going to have to learn throughout this year. So, yeah.
Well, before we transition to the final segment of the show, I
Mhm.
just got to put it out there. Your boy LeBron only knows how to win with Chicago talent. I just got to put it out there. He
You
winning
don't
with
know
D
how to.
Wade,
Hold on. Who was from Chicago on the Cavaliers team? Who am I forgetting?
Iman Shumpert.
Okay,
You
all
can't
right, that's
forget
fair.
Shump.
That's fair. I forgot about. Okay, that's fair.
See,
That's fair.
that's
Okay.
what I'm saying. Your boy knows.
Hey man, look, I'm with it. I'm 100% with it. Hey, tell LeBron, hey bro, look, the Spring Hill Productions hit me up, bro. You want to win? Hey, you trying to catch Kobe and win some Oscars and Emmys with Chicago talent? What's up, bro? But no, I feel that. I feel that, man. AD, yo, this is his time. Step up, and be that guy. Taylor Horton Tucker, man, from watching him at Simeon all the way up to watching him at Iowa State and then watching him now, he's progressed so very much, and I'm so glad for that. It's going to be key for him now to prove every time he gets out there, he's just got to stay aggressive, because that's the one thing that's going to keep him on the floor. Don't be lax in saying, all right, let me run the offense a little bit. That ain't your role. Your role is for you to go out there and score. Because why? Because you are auditioning right now for when LeBron's contract is up, right? Who's going to be that second guy when AD is there? Maybe Taylor Horton Tucker's ceiling isn't that second guy. Maybe he's that really good third guy that I was mentioning earlier that Zach LaVine would be on a team such as this, right? Maybe that could be his role. He could grow into that role. Some people may look at, this is only his second year. Of course, it's only his second year. Maybe by year 4, year 5, he might be that at that point. But right now, they need to see from you, you're always going to be aggressive when you're out there. So that'll be good for him. Yeah, why not? Why not?
Why not? That everybody listening right now, you're listening to Mel Taylor. Mel, transitioning to your career, because you've been making some pretty big moves, my man. You
Thank you,
got your
man.
show, you getting sponsorships, YouTube is going crazy. Like, talk
Yeah,
to our audience about all the things you got going on right now and what you've been doing with your career, especially now that you're also an actor as well. I got to put that out there. You out here acting in plays and films and stuff. I mean, I got to see you on the screen in the movie theater
Man,
real soon.
appreciate that. Appreciate
So
that.
yeah,
That's what I'm.
tell your audience about what you got going on, man.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm shooting for right now. That's the ultimate goal, to be like, all right, we gotta. It's cool. We on the smaller screens now. We need to take it to the silver screen, as they say. Let's take it another level up. But no, man. For as crazy as a year as 2020 has been, and we can all say it's been one hell of a crazy year, right? It's also been very good to me, and I'm very appreciative and very thankful for this year, because it's really opened up a lot of opportunities that would not have been present for me had the year been as normal as it usually is, right? And of those opportunities, was able to be in a couple different films that I can't necessarily speak about just yet in terms of what my roles were in those, but I'm very thankful to have those opportunities, right? But on a more personal sense of what I'm doing with my radio show, we have a partnership with Red Pocket Mobile, where look, hey, we understand that sometimes these phone companies are hitting you all over the head with these prices. Come on over here to Red Pocket Mobile and let's figure out a situation where you could be paying for a plan as low as $5 a month. Hey, we got some unlimited plans over there too. And why not? It's just another bill that we can help to alleviate for a lot of people that are going through it right now, especially when the government is like, take y'all little $600 and move on. So you definitely need to be able to save some money where you can. And with Red Pocket Mobile and the All Male Radio Show, we're definitely helping people to be able to do that. With the podcast, the Alternative World Podcast, I take a lot of the conversations that I have on the radio show and I turn those into a podcast where I talk to people about not only what it is that they do, but what is their version of success, right? LeBron's level of success looks different than what Will Smith's level of success is, right? And Denzel Washington's version of success looks different than what Samuel Jackson's version of success is, or what Bill Gates' version of success is, or what Elon Musk's version of success was. I want to talk to people about what does success look like to you specifically, and what is your pathway to be able to get there? Are you on that pathway? Are you taking the steps to being able to get there? And what are some of the things that you learn that can help out the next person that's trying to figure out what their version of success looks like to them? So those are all the kinds of conversations that we have on the podcast. And DistroKid just so happened to have a conversation with me and say, hey, you know what? You get a lot of music artists, people that listen to your radio show, but conversely, they also listen to the podcast because they want to hear what other people have had to say about, what it takes to really get through the grind. And with DistroKid, we're doing a special partnership a sponsorship where we're giving people a 20% off of their entire first year of having DistroKid up. So that means instead of just passing out your mixtape in Times Square like you might, or instead of sending people your SoundCloud link, now you can get your music on iTunes. You can get it on Spotify. You can get it on Tidal. And you can also get your lyrics on IG Story. So that way on Christmas, you can be like, hey, look, all my stuff is up there. Don't tell me that you ain't heard it yet. So that's something that we're working on there right now. And I'm so glad, so thankful that was able to happen. And heavy.com, being a writer, a beat writer covering the Golden State Warriors there has been a lot of fun so far. I'm excited for this because not too many people know I was a print journalism minor in college. So when I stopped playing basketball and running track, and I started acting in plays and being vice president of the Black Student Union, I was also a writer for the school newspaper at that point in time. I was commentating and color commentating the basketball and football games at that point in time. And because I had a relationship with all the athletes, it would be so much easier for me to be able to say, look, man, I'm gonna be hard on you, but it's coming from a place of I just want you to be better versus what you see the Skip Baylesses of the world are doing and whatnot, right? But not only was I doing that, but I was also writing for the local newspaper, the Register Mail at that point in time. I was also writing for a Lakers blog at that point in time. LakersNation.com, as a lot of people know it for this point, at this current point in time too. So I'm glad that all those experiences and what I did at Respect Magazine as well has also brought me to Heavy, because I remember being in high school and telling people, yo, there's this little kid in North Carolina that his dad played for the Charlotte Hornets and he's real good and he's going to Davidson. Like, y'all should be on the lookout for him. People would be like, yo, we don't, okay, like Davidson, where's that at? Like, whatever. And then he turned out to be Steph Curry. So for me to have a full 360 turnaround to come all the way and be like, man, now I'm covering Steph Curry on like a nightly basis is just awesome to me. And I'm super thankful, super proud of the opportunity. And recently I was also able to be on NTV and talk about what some of my most favorite music and movie moments have been, not just this year, but of all time. And if anybody will hop on my Instagram, you'll be able to see that. But yeah, man, we doing it big. I'm trying to get all the bags that Nick Cannon just is leaving alone for right now. So let me go see if I can snatch all those up and get some of those, because somebody got to do it. But yeah.
No, that's mad real, bro. You out here really doing your thing. I'm super excited for you, happy for you, proud of you. You name it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, keep up the good work, bro. Where can everybody follow you on social media to follow all the things that you're doing?
Man, it's real simple. It's my name, Melvin Taylor II. Somebody took Melvin Taylor Jr., so I was like, all right, cool. I guess I'm gonna go by II. And then what was funny is they added me one day. I was like, oh man, it's cool. Like, yo, we got the same name. I was like, nah, bro, move up out of here. Like, we ain't cool like that. You took everything I'm identified by. Chill out. But yeah, just find me, Melvin Taylor II. It's my website. It's my Instagram. It's also my YouTube channel. And additionally, you can find my radio show, The Alt with Mel, TheAltWithMel, short for The Alternative with Melvin Taylor. You can find us on YouTube, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that as well, man. And just stay tuned. We still got a lot of things that are bubbling right now, a lot of ways in which we're still growing. And, I ain't stopping no time soon. I'm ready to get back into it. 2021, I think it's going to be a good one. We got hopefully we got all the badness out of the roaring 20s right now. Now we can move into the flourishing part of it at this point in time. But super excited, man. Glad to be here. Glad that I was able to make this happen. Glad that Josh, you brought me on the show. And let's keep this going, because at some point in time we're gonna have to produce that Chicago nighttime show for Josh and get that up on WGN. We got to make that happen at some point in time in the future.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Most definitely. I got to bring you on board for that. I got to bring you on board for whatever,
of course.
show that I end up doing, man. I got to bring you on for that. And everybody listening to this specific show right now, you can follow me on Instagram at that guy, Josh Hicks, and on Twitter at jhicks042. And also follow War Media. War Media has a lot of great stuff going on between the Running with War podcast show, with all the latest NBA coverage you can get. You got all the exclusive column writings. You name it. You cover it all.
Real quick, I want to shout out to all of the guys that's in the group chat. Shout out to all of the radio guys that we got going on there. Especially shout out to War Media as well. Thank you, Kyle Means, for letting me go on and write my little Warriors piece before I was up on Heavy, to be like, all right, let me make sure I still got it. I greatly appreciate that. as well, man. War has been the backbone of everything that you and I both have been able to do, just from the support that we all get from being able to stay connected with one another. So I'm definitely thankful for all the brotherhood that we got in there as well. So for sure, had to shout out all the guys real quick. Tell Tony, hey, save some of them previews for when the team is on fire, dog. You let a little heat out a little too early, man. But yeah.
Most definitely, man. Shout out to all the War Media guys, Kyle, Ken, Ryan, Tone, Sid. If I missed somebody, I apologize. Charge my head,
Jason
not my
as well.
heart.
Jason, what up? It's all good. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Charge my head, not my heart. Thank
go.
you, God, man. Thank you, Mel, for coming on my show. I really appreciate you. You know we got to do this thing again, and keep doing your thing. We'll be checking out your work throughout the season, and everyone listening right now also be on the lookout for my column for my predictions on the Christmas Day games that should be coming out tomorrow, the next day, which is Christmas Day, as well as this specific podcast itself. So stay tuned. We'll keep in touch, Mel. Thank you again, my brother. I really appreciate you. Keep doing your thing, and we'll keep in touch and talk soon.
No problem, man. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to next time. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Happy holidays.
Yes, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you and your family as well.